morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me fine. Welcome to this windy morning, but at least it's not hot and steamy. And this is an exciting day for the city of St. Pete, so we want to welcome all of you here with us today. So we're here to celebrate our newest SPAR project. So for those of you who don't know what SPAR is, I want you to start memorizing what SPAR is. SPAR is St. Pete Agile Resilience. And the spirit behind SPAR and the spirit behind projects like these is to embed more resilience into our utilities so that they can stand up to the changing weather that we've all been noticing, and the impacts from storms, the impacts from storm surge. And so this is an exciting project that is part of the SPAR program. So many of you might remember during 2024, during the hurricanes, we had to shut down 2 of our wastewater treatment plants. And this was one of the plants that we had to shut down during Hurricane Milton. Hurricane Milton was projected to provide us with 15 feet of storm surge, 15 feet. Where you're standing right now is about 8.5 feet. So if you think of 15 feet, we're talking about another 6, 7, 8 feet above the ground level here that we were projected to get. Now, thankfully, we did not. But if you can imagine what that 15 foot would have meant to a facility like this, that's why we had to shut it down, to protect it just in case we had that storm surge. And part of that protection of storm surge is protecting the staff. People might not remember, though, that while everybody else was evacuating in preparation for these storms, our staff had to stay here and continue operating this plant to provide those services. And so this project that we're celebrating today is the first step towards making sure our staff are safe. And so the project is to provide a new operations and maintenance building. It'll be a 3-story structure, with that first ground level portion of the structure being an area where we can store equipment, but not people and not important electronic equipment and computers. And it's an area that if we were to get a storm surge, the storm surge could just pass through it without providing any danger to our crew. And so the finished floor elevation will be much higher than that 15-foot storm surge that I mentioned we were projected to get. We're aiming to get all of our facilities protected up to the 15-foot storm surge. For this particular project, we're going to exceed that. This building will house multi-purpose rooms, a bunk room for the staff, offices, workroom, a staff lounge, a laboratory, a skater room, and group locker rooms. And as I mentioned before, those occupied spaces in the upper floors will also include an enclosed repair and maintenance garage area on the first floor. And so now I'd like to introduce the person who came up with the idea of SPAR, our distinguished Mayor Kenneth T. Welch.
Thank you, Claude. Good morning, everyone. Morning. Claude, you're looking fantastic as usual. I got to wear my hat like yours next time. They say that ribbon cuttings for infrastructure isn't sexy, but this is very exciting. And when we had to shut down 2 of our 3 sewer plants during Helene and Milton for the first time in our history, I didn't want our community to ever have to face that again. You might have gotten that wonderful call from me or from our comms team saying, don't flush your toilets, don't do laundry, because we're going to have to shut down the sewer plants. Our realities have changed in the city of St. Petersburg, and if we're going to be a resilient community, this is the kind of infrastructure investment we have to make. I'm a Spartan, as Councilmember Deborah Fix-Sanders knows, and I was thinking about the 300 movie, actually, where Sparta was surrounded against the plague of enemies from all over, and they were going to stand strong. So I was trying to get to Spartan in the acronym. I couldn't get there. I got to spar, and then we were talking about agility. And if you've been in software development, the old software development scheme is you build to a product standard. With the agile approach, you adjust that standard as your environment changes, and clearly, our environment changes. So St. Pete Agile Resilience is what we ended up with, and I'm really proud of the effort. I just came up with the concept. Claude and his team came up with the operational approach, what would have the most impact, what we can move forward in our CIP. And I just want to thank you all for putting together a really good program that's going to make us a much safer and more resilient community. So y'all give Claude and his team some love. I want to acknowledge our council chair, Lisette Hanowitz, who's with us today. Are you chair of PSTA now? No. I'm asking Deborah. Okay, and Councilmember Deborah Fix-Sanders. I need to be more accurate, I know. Councilmember Deborah Fix-Sanders, who is chair of PSTA, who will have to leave momentarily, but thank you for stopping by, Councilmember Deborah Fix-Sanders. And all the members of our city team, my chief of staff, Doyle Walsh, is in the back, and all the members of our city team, thank you for your great work. This building, as Claude said, is a critical investment in the infrastructure that keeps our city running every day, even in this new environment. Most residents will never see the work that happens at our water reclamation facilities, but they rely on it every day. Clean water, environmental protection, public health, and reliable city services all depend on this strong infrastructure. If this infrastructure doesn't work, our city does not work. And that's why today's groundbreaking is such an important milestone. This new operations building at the Southwest Water Reclamation Facility represents our commitment to building a city that is prepared for the future and our new realities. Designed to withstand severe weather and the impacts of climate change, this facility will serve as a safe, resilient hub for critical operations during emergencies. I've said it before and I'll say it again today, the storms we are experiencing these days are not the storms that these systems were built to withstand. With this in mind, we must adapt and adjust to meet the new challenge. When storms threaten our community, this building will help ensure that essential services continue uninterrupted and that our staff have a secure place from which to serve our residents. It will also improve efficiency by bringing operations and maintenance functions together under one roof, creating a modern workspace that supports the talented and dedicated employees who keep this facility running. This project is a perfect example of our environment, infrastructure, and resilience pillar for progress in action. It demonstrates how thoughtful investments today help protect our community tomorrow. I also want to acknowledge the strong partners that have helped bring us to this moment. I extend my sincere thanks to the state of Florida and the Resilient Florida program for providing significant funding for this project. We appreciate the partnership of PBK Architects and Ajax Building Company. Y'all raise your hands. All right, show them some love, please. And we thank our water resources team. All the water resources team here today, raise your hands, please. Why y'all way in the back? We appreciate the work y'all do every day. And all of our city staff and team and our leadership, city council, for your leadership and dedication throughout this process. Your expertise, professionalism, and commitment are what makes projects like this possible. This facility is being built to support your work and strengthen your ability to serve residents for decades to come. I want to thank you all for being here, and I look forward to celebrating the completion of this important project to serve us for generations to come. We are St. Pete. God bless y'all.
Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate you giving me the heads up that our Councilmember Deborah Fix-Sanders has to leave. So I want to make sure I thank her before she does so. Thank her and our council chair, Lisette Hanowitz, and all of the council. We couldn't do these projects without you guys and without your support of what we're trying to do and providing the funding. And so thank you very much. Speaking of funding, as the mayor mentioned, we are very grateful to the state for providing some grant funding for this project. So the overall project all-in costs is $22.2 million. Of that, Roughly 18 million is for the construction of this facility. But the state of Florida, through the Resilient Florida program, provided $8.9 million in grants towards this project, which helps relieve the burden on our ratepayers while also helping protect the region. Because what a lot of people might not remember is that this plant not only serves St. Pete, this plant also serves the city of Gulfport. And so this is an important project for the city of Gulfport. So this is a regional project. The remaining 13 million funds is provided from the monthly water and sewer bills that we all pay. And this is where the money from those sewer bills goes to. So representing our city council as our chair for this year, I'd like to introduce our council chair, Lisette Hanowitz.
Well, thank you, Claude. Good morning, everyone. As you can see, I had to lower the mic, so when Claude was talking about storm surge and you're talking about 6 and 7 and 8 feet, yeah, I'm below that, so I'd be underwater. It is wonderful to be here with Mayor Welch, Councilmember Fig Sanders, whose district we are in, fellow city leaders, our partners at PBK, and Ajax, and the members of the St. Pete team who work every day to keep our city running safely and reliably. As Claude mentioned, this is a team effort. This is not just our Public Works Department and the Water Resources, but we have our engineering team also that makes this happen, and every other city worker. The past few storms have reminded us how much our wastewater system matters. When a storm is coming, whether you live or you do not live in a storm surge area, an evacuation zone, every resident needs to know that the infrastructure supporting their home is protected and prepared. When it is not, families do feel it. It affects how we prepare, how we respond, and how we stay safe. That is why today is important for our city. This new operations building is a practical, forward-looking investment in a system our community depends on every single day. It supports both employees who work at the Southwest Water Reclamation Facility and the residents who rely on its services, including Gulfport. The project strengthens a critical part of our wastewater system by protecting this facility from storm surge way above what it is right now. It will bring operations and maintenance under one roof, making daily work more efficient. And during emergencies, it will give staff a safe, secure place to keep essential services running when our community needs them most. Because one thing is extremely important: we never want to put our employees at risk, especially during storms. This work is part of SPAR, as was mentioned, St. Pete Agile Resistance, and reflects our city's commitment to learn from past storms and make fiscally responsible long-term investments. Now, we live in Florida, and our hurricane season lasts 6 months of the year, every single year. So guess what? Half of our lives are lived through a hurricane season in Florida. We know we cannot eliminate every risk, but we can reduce vulnerabilities and strengthen the systems that our residents count on. We have also learned how much clear communication matters. We understand what may happen and what it means for the households in our community. They can make better decisions when we are better prepared. Strong infrastructure and strong communication go hand in hand. So as the mayor said, I'd like to thank the state of Florida's Resilient Florida program, and also the employees that work very hard to get those matching grants to make sure that it doesn't just fall on our ratepayers. PBK, Ajax, Mayor Welch Administration, and Public Works Department for the careful planning, collaboration, and responsible investment that brought us to this moment. At its core, today is about readiness, making sure our systems are stronger, our staff are supported, and our community is better prepared for the future and the next storm. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hanowitz. I want everybody to turn this way and look at that building right there. You see that building right there, the kind of cream colored with the brown edging? That is the current operations and maintenance building. It's sitting on ground level, And you can see that if we had gotten a 6 to 7 foot storm surge, it probably would have gone all the way up to the top of that door. The new facility that we're building, where the staff are going to be, is going to be about 20 feet above ground level. So they're going to be elevated above ground level to be safe. That gives you kind of a perspective of the importance of this project and the impact of this project. So I'd like to introduce next the folks that helped design this project so that it provides that safe space for our employees. So I'd like to introduce Amy Bradlow from PBK Architects. She is the principal and regional market leader for PBK. She is an architect specializing in innovative designs for public safety buildings, libraries, community centers, recreation centers, city halls, and administrative facilities. And most of all, her work emphasizes resilience. And so I'd like to have Amy come up and give you a little bit more information about this facility.
I gotta lower the mic too. Thank you, Claude. Well, this is a very exciting day for all of us. We've really enjoyed collaborating with the City of St. Pete on this process. It's been really great working with James Jackson and Jason Venable and all of the plant staff. Just, like I said, very collaborative, very great to work with. I'd like to acknowledge some of my other team members that are present today. Ward Frizzolowski, Tim Feaster, Isabel Hunt, Nola Davidson, Natalia Martinez with PBK. Tim, as the project manager, has been instrumental in getting us to this point in the process, so I really appreciate all the work that he's done, as well as the rest of the team. We've also got representatives from McKim and Creed, our civil engineer. They also did the instrumentation and controls. Panoni, our structural engineer. Engineering Matrix, our MEP engineer. Two Trails, our sustainability consultant, and Nichols, landscape architecture, who designed the landscape. Our office is located right here in St. Pete, and personally, I'm also a St. Pete resident, so it's very rewarding for us to be working on a project that's right in our home city and serves us as residents and businesses. As we all know, the 2024 hurricane season proved to us all how needed this facility really is. Until then, many of us took for granted all the work that the staff here do to keep services that we all use running on a daily basis. Their work is so critical to ensure that we all have access to those services, and not everyone knows that these staff have to remain on site during and immediately following a storm. So it's imperative that we have a safe and functional place for them to work during that time period. The building's going to include new offices, maintenance bays, a lab, and SCADA control areas. And the structure is going to be designed, or it is designed, to resist ultimate wind speeds of 220 miles per hour, impact and flood loads. It's going to be elevated, like Claude mentioned, putting the first floor above the 500-year storm surge level, 22 feet above grade. And all window and door assemblies are designed for flood resistance. The MEP systems, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, those are also elevated above the flood level to make sure everything keeps running. We're anticipating LEED Gold certification, and there's going to be a solar array that'll take care of 22% of the facility's electrical load. So that's very exciting. So we're really looking forward to see it under construction, and we know that Ajax is going to do a wonderful job building it. Thank you.
Amy, I'm glad you mentioned the solar array because solar power is part of the resilience program for us to provide us more options so that we're not reliant just on one type of power source. So thank you for mentioning that. I appreciate it. Give you a few statistics about this plant. It was built in 1955. It was upgraded in 1978 and again in 2019. And during that entire period from 1955, it had never been threatened with the kind of flooding that we saw in 2024. I mentioned earlier that it serves St. Pete and the city of Gulfport. It serves approximately 47% of the city of St. Pete. We have two other plants. This plant, almost 50% of the city. 162,000 customers are served by this plant. And we have 95 critical facilities that are served by this plant. Facilities such as hospitals, long-term care centers, schools, emergency shelters, fire and police stations. So that gives you the impact of this particular plant. So as part of the team that is helping to bring this to fruition is Ajax Building. And I'd like to bring Tim Sewell up to talk to you about their process of building this facility. He is the regional director for the state of Florida and has more than 36 years of experience in the construction management, at-risk, design, build, and general contracting fields. So Tim?
Good morning. Thank you, Claude. Just so proud to be part and be selected for this project. I mean, it has a double bonus for Ajax, with our office located just right up the road in Oldsmar. So many of our staff live, work, and call St. Pete their home. So not only are we giving back to the community at large within the St. Pete area, so many of our staff is participating in this build. So it's a double bonus for Ajax to have been selected. The process for us started back in January of last year. I think that's the first time we actually put an estimate together for the project. So it has been a time coming, and working with James and PBK and the other stakeholders has actually been a very collaborative and comprehensive effort so that we could start today and start building today. So I did want to take you through kind of where and what you might see over the coming months. So right now we're looking at a plain area of dirt. We've taken some trees down, but we're getting ready to go. So within the next 2 to 3 months, you're going to see a drilling rig out here putting auger cast piles into the ground. That's going to support the structure. Then that's going to be followed by the foundation. So that's all going to start taking shape in the next 2 or 3 months. In about 6 to 7 months, you're going to see all the masonry walls erected up to that elevation heights that you've heard everybody talk about. Working our way to the roof level, which will be a dry-in in about January of 2027. That's a big time for us. That's a big milestone for us. It'll be a topping out event. I hope to see many of you here at the topping out event. But we celebrate our trade contractors and our subcontractors, many of which are local to St. Pete and or Pinellas County, celebrate the fact that we've reached that milestone and really set the stage for running through the balance of the build. So Amy, you mentioned MEP and the equipment. All of that will go in that last 7 months. Racing to make sure that the equipment works right. It's commissioned. It's working so that it can provide the city what they need and the water department what they need to function during these critical events that we're talking about. So with all that said, looking forward to the end as well. And I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you very much. We can hopefully dig some dirt.
All right, thank you very much for allowing us to explain this very important project to you. One last thing before we start to digging dirt, I do want to recognize James Jackson. James, would you? James is our architect, project manager for the city, and thank you for your leadership on this project. So, without any further ado, I invite everybody to join us to break dirt on this new project. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.